Good afternoon. Welcome to the Hub, where we will discuss health, finances, community, education, and politics. We invite you to meet us here every month, and as we have new guests and topics where we hope to not only inspire but to educate you as well. The Hub is where community and ministry connect. As the new school year is getting underway, parents, students, and communities are getting ready for an exciting and transformative time. It is a moment filled with anticipation, new opportunities, and renewed commitment to supporting our children's success. Right now is the perfect time for parents to understand the vital role our local school boards play in shaping the educational experiences of our students and the future of our community. Today, we're honored to speak with a member of the Newport News School Board to shed light on how the board operates, the ways they support parents and families, and how community members can build meaningful relationships with their local boards. Whether you're a parent seeking to get involved, a concerned community member with questions or ideas, or someone who is interested in the future of our schools, this interview offers valuable insights on how you can participate to ensure your child's success. By working together and staying informed, we can strengthen our schools and create an environment where every child has the opportunity to thrive. Stay tuned as we explore the vital connections between families, communities, and the dedicated leadership guiding our schools forward. My name is Justin Taylor, and tonight I have the honor and privilege to speak with Rashina Harris. Rashina is a dedicated community leader, an advocate for education and youth. She holds a master's degree in education from Boston University, specializing in policy, planning, and administration for community agencies. With extensive experience in human services, behavioral health, and community engagement, she serves as the substitute for Newport News Public Schools, a qualified mental health professional for children, and a trained mobile crisis responder for youth with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Her work centers on advancing equity in education, supporting mental health and teacher development, integrating technology, and strengthening school community partnerships. She serves on several boards, including the Heart of Giving, Peninsula Agency on Aging, the Tri City Hurricanes Youth Foundation, where she is the administrator. Under her leadership, the foundation was named 2023 Nonprofit of the Year by Emerge Magazine. She is also the executive director of foster care at the James Barry Robinson Institute. Outside of her professional roles, Rashina enjoys writing and spending time with her husband, Dr. Marcellus Harris III, and their two children, Marcellus and Marlinda. Please join me in welcoming Rashina Harris to the Hub. Welcome to
Thank
the
you.
show, Rashina. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I am doing well. I am doing well. Super excited. Super excited. Beginning of the school year. Just taking it all in.
Yeah, yeah. Beginning of the school year, it's always challenging. Parents are, we're excited. I don't know if we're more excited for the opportunity for our kids to, learn new things, or those 8 hours of freedom that we get every day.
Look, I got two. I got my two are in Newport News Public School, so I understand the
Yeah,
joy.
so I think it's about, 60-40. You learn something new, but get out the house. Get out.
Right, right.
Get out there with the people.
That's right.
So
That's right.
thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. Because I feel like the timing is perfect because school is just starting, and there is a lot that we don't know, and I'm glad you are here to help us with what we don't know. So you ready to get into it?
I'm ready. Let's jump in.
Let's jump right into it. So I'm gonna ask you some questions tonight about, the role of the school board. I'm gonna try to, um, tailor our discussion in segments. But we're just gonna go with the flow. And if one thing, we spend a little bit more time on one subject, that's okay.
Okay.
Um, but the first thing we want to talk about is, what is the role of the school board? Can you explain to us the primary responsibilities and functions of the Newport News School Board or any school board? Because I'm sure they all work, pretty much the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's an extremely vital question.
Okay.
You know, when I first started thinking about running for the C, that was one of the pieces that I really had to wrap my head around.
Hmm.
What are my roles? What are my responsibilities? What is the expectation? What is the standard going to be? And I had all these different things that I thought
Okay.
a school board member did, but essentially the primary role is to oversee our one employee. School board has one employee, one staff member, and that is Dr. Michelle Mitchell, which is our superintendent of Newport News Public Schools. Um, the school board's challenge and task, I'd say, is to really help Dr. Mitchell and her team drive the strategic plan that we kind of collaboratively come up with together with a lot of work sessions and looking at a lot of data and things along those lines across the division. And it really is helping her to accelerate that strategic plan. Um, we're actually in the process of wrapping up the strategic plan. It's 2025 to 2030. We have consultants that come in. It's a pretty big job that happens, and then we're just kind of the reinforcement that helps Dr. Mitchell to drive that plan. The other piece, or the other side of the house, is what I like to call it, is the policy piece. Um, we sit down and we look at the current policies that are in place, and there are times where things change. Things are
Hmm.
ever changing. So there may be language that needs to change. There may be, um, things are just being done differently. So the policy to support that change needs to come about. So we sort of put our heads together, talk about what it's going to sound like, what it's going to look like, and we revamp those current policies, and then we create new ones as different things come about, different matters come about that we have to implement, different strategy around. May require a policy that has to be created fresh and rebuilt. And so the expertise from each board member really comes into play there. And we sit around a table and we kind of think it through. We hash it out. We have open dialogue, and we come up with what we think is going to be the best to, one, drive that strategic plan and support our division, and two, to make sure that we have the best outcomes for our students, our educators, and administrators. So th- that is essentially the main role.
Okay. So you said a lot. Um, so you have a board which is
Mhm.
made up of multiple people
Correct.
overseeing one person.
Correct.
And that one person obviously has a team that works
Correct.
with them. And that one person oversees their own team.
Correct.
Okay. Now you mentioned policy. How does the board work to set policies that guide the overall direction? Well, first of all, you mentioned, let me go back. You talked about
Mhm.
districts, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So there's only one school board for the city. So for all of the Newport News schools, correct? There's
Yes.
one board, and that one employee that works for the board oversees all of the schools in the city.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So how it works is each district, there's three districts across the city of Newport News. You've
Okay.
got South District, which is our downtown area. You've got our Central District, which is like Midtown. And then you've got your North District, which would be considered, up to uptown, which is where I'm, Fort Eustis and from Bland on up. And each
Okay.
district has two representatives. So you've got myself and Douglas Brown. We represent the North District. We're seats A and B for the North District. You've got your
Okay.
two representatives for Central, which is going to be Lisa Law and Rebecca Amon. And then you've got your two South representative, which is going to be Dr. Terry Best and Maritza Alger. They are actually serve as our chair and co-chair. So, and then we've got Gary Hunter, who is our at-large member. um 6, 2, 2, and 2, that's 6. So when we have voting,
Gotcha. Okay.
right, we have someone that can kind of split that number up. So when we vote on certain things, we have that one individual. So that is kind of the scope of what the board looks like.
Okay. Okay. Now, does the policy differ per district, or is it this is the policy for our city?
This is the policy for the entire Newport News Public School Division.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. So, and you kind of already mentioned it. So y'all come together collectively and you look at past matters, current trends or current needs and necessities, and you put your minds together and you come up with the direction for the future for the city of Newport News at large.
Correct. Now, I will. This is the interesting part that I didn't really know happens behind the scenes. This board, I don't have experience on other boards, but this board is extremely data driven. So there's a lot of research, there's a lot of number crunching, there's a lot of data analysis, sort of looking at different outcomes for different components of the strategic plan, and
Mhm.
based off of those numbers is sort of how we build the roadmap
Okay.
um, for the direction of the division. So what's working, what's not working, what are the numbers? Numbers don't lie. So what are the numbers telling us?
Mhm.
And that is kind of how the roadmap is created for the strategic planning piece.
Okay. So, do you all involve parents in that process? And
So
how if that is accomplished, how is that accomplished?
absolutely. So I'm going to answer this question as much as I can because I did start January 1. But what
Okay.
I have seen in the past is there's a series of now this doesn't happen for every matter. It's kind of case by case. But what will happen is surveys go out. Surveys go out electronically, through email, where there's a certain amount of time where parents can give their input. There is also during our school board meetings, there is a public comment segment. It actually happens twice in two sections of the meeting, on the front end, and then it happens sort of in the middle. If things come to mind and people want to add in comment in the middle. So we get feedback. A lot of times we'll get, folks telling us what their thoughts are on a particular policy or on a particular handbook point, or some will share their own personal experiences with the school system, their day to day. So we get a lot of information that we're able to kind of base our policies and our plans and our procedures behind. And that is one way. The surveys is one of the main ways that we get the voice of the parent. Now, I haven't started doing them, but I know historically I have school board members that have town halls.
Mhm.
They have one-on-ones where they have open office hours where they'll meet with constituents and other citizens.
Mhm.
Um, when they're visiting schools, when they're visiting open houses, when they're visiting community events, a lot of times those are opportunities where parents, neighbors, they'll come to you and say, hey, have you guys tried this? Have you thought of this? Or I'm having a challenge with this, or this is working out really well. Thank you for, we need more of this. So there's a lot of those engagement opportunities and those touch points
Mhm.
where I feel like the school board is able to kind of
Okay, you there? Can you
Yep,
hear me?
I'm there. Did I?
Okay,
Okay.
you just froze out just a little bit. But
Okay.
so I have a what it sounds like is um, if parents want input, it's imperative that they show up to those meetings and
Mhm.
voice their concerns with the current policies or procedures or processes, and stop throwing all of the mail outs in the trash that you receive. Do the survey and send it back and send it.
Right.
Um, okay, so let's talk about parents and the community now.
Yes.
Um, and you can kind of speak to if there are any misconceptions that you've experienced with, the responsibility of the school board. But is there a way that the school board does support and involve parents in their children's education, or is that the responsibility of another office?
When you say involvement, I think it's everyone's responsibility, essentially.
Okay.
Um, Again, making sure that you're taking those opportunities and those platforms to dialogue. We have emails. Our emails stay full. School board, I would like to think we all respond respond to our emails. But a lot of times we're getting information from communities. Um, and we push those concerns, we push that information up to our superintendent, who then defers it off to its prospective administrator, its prospective office, or its prospective department, so that it can be um, kind of processed through, remedied, highlighted, whatever the case may be. So there's I feel like there's ample opportunities for engagement. And when you say engagement, it makes me always think of our youth development department, that is headed up by Bridget Adams. Now, Bridget Adams is an intricate part of family engagement, because she actually has a department of staff that are family engagement specialists.
Okay.
So essentially, they are the life bridge between the schools, the students, and parents. Um, they do things like they go out into the community, um, they go out to the local libraries, they go to the local community centers. Um, I've seen them on weekends at ball games, local ball games. You'll see them at Todd Stadium. Those representatives really are the life bridge between parents, students, and the school system, especially for those parents that don't always have the time and the resources to get to a school, or maybe to do a survey or attend a school board meeting. They kind of fill in that gap, and that is essentially their full-time job,
Okay.
is to see where those gaps are and to fill those into those specific school systems and schools. So each family engagement specialist is assigned a certain amount of school buildings.
Okay.
So someone will have two or three schools on their caseload, and their sole responsibility is to make sure that there's a line of communication between the community, and the school, and the administrators, and the educators, so that there's a seamless communication that's happening.
So, do you know how they fulfill that responsibility? Like, how do they? How, are they there waiting to be engaged, or are they actually going out and engaging these parents and families of the students in the schools?
I
And
think
you,
it's a little bit of both. Like I
okay,
said, they go out and they make themselves available. They're at the places where parents are. They're
right,
going to the ball games to see their son, play football. They're going, I have kids that are athletes, so parents are at the games. We're watching our kids cheer. We're watching our kids run those track meets. Um, and for the ones that don't necessarily cannot get to those locations or to those platforms, I'll give you an example. I know for instance, the family engagement will receive a call about a family maybe that's in need of, maybe there's a school supplies.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a need for a haircut, hygiene items. Maybe there's a food disparity.
Mm-hmm.
And, that particular engagement specialist will plug that family into different community resources and try to fulfill that need for that family.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I I went to what school did I go to? I think it was Denby Early Childhood Center. On the first day of school, they have a wall, and I think it said brought to you by the Family Engagement Youth Development Department, and they had little hygiene pot packets. It was like
Oh,
toothbrushes and um, sanitizer and all these little soaps and deodorant and different things like that.
mhm.
And it said, feel free to take one, and it's something that they replenish, when it needs to be replenished. So it's those kinds of things. And that's just a small example of some of the larger scale thing of, they do larger scale things as well. Um, I'm thinking more specifically of an event that I've attended in the past. It's called the Bloom Girls Empowerment, where they
Mhm.
bring all females, I think between grade 6 through maybe high school age.
Mhm.
Um, and there's a series of workshops. Um, there's a series of opportunities where they learn about like self-esteem and behavior modification, decision making, those types of life skills.
Uh-huh.
And so that's just one example of the many things that that department brings.
Okay. So, I mean, it sounds like, it's a that team is a great resource for families to connect with, to, get information or assistance if needed. It's just a matter of it's one of those things like you can't use it if you don't know it's there.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So,
Educating the
how do
community.
we educate the families to, make use of the available resources?
But I think that's the hard part. You can't really. I mean, I think our job as a board is to find ways to better communicate and better message what resources are out there and how
Right.
to access it.
Mhm.
Um, we have just been having discussions on, and I'm switching gears here,
Oh yeah.
but another engagement piece for me, on how to better highlight our magnet schools and how the different opportunities for the magnet programs tie into different industries. So working with partners at the economic development department and showing, hey, if you go into the aviation program at Denby High School, and you go through that program, you can not just, it's not just about flying planes. You can work in the wind tunnels. You can
Mhm.
be a roller coaster tech at Busch Gardens. You can, do all of
Right.
these things and really trying to spell out to students, to families, to parents what the opportunities are so they can graduate with these skill sets, make a livable wage, go on to higher education, go into the military, whatever, kiddos decide to do, and really utilize the skills that they're gaining while they're in elementary, middle, and high school.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that is a great that would be a great way to, get these kids more skills, get them involved in those programs. Speaking of programs, what are some current or upcoming programs, um, if any, that you may know of, that could support our students academically and socially and emotionally?
So there are, as I mentioned earlier, the Bloom program that's coming up, I think, in a couple of weeks. There's
Hmm.
also a program called Rise, where it focuses primarily on our male population. Um,
Okay.
that happens every year too. So Bloom happens every year and Rise happens every year, where it's hosted. I, they fill up, the slots fill up so quickly, um,
That's
and they're
good.
very well, yes, very well attended. And same concept where they have speakers come in, they do some workshopping, um, they present different subject matter, on empowerment, essentially.
Hmm.
That's one program. I will tell you too, the schools have added in additional behavioral counselors, licensed counselors, to the mix as well. I actually at Ella Fitzgerald met with an LCSW, who is a guidance counselor, and she works specifically. I think she's assigned a couple of different schools as well, um, but she works specifically with those students who have those social, emotional, or if they just come to guidance and they want to process things and they have some maybe external things that are going on outside of the school system that they want to talk about that may be impeding academics or maybe filtering into their experience, their school experience. So
Hmm.
there are more hires in terms of our licensed specialists that are filtering across Newport News public schools. We also too have, and I didn't realize this, on our transportation buses. We were talking about TAs and having additional assistance on school buses. For all of our like special education buses, there's always an additional aide, and there's always someone in those classrooms to assist our students who have special needs, on a day to day with their life skills and their behavior modification plans and that sort of thing. So there are these different pieces that have been based off of the numbers and outcomes we've looked into and said, okay, we've got to up the ante here. We need more specialists. We need more licensed individuals here so that we can kind of take care of, the mental health and wellness of our students.
Okay, that's amazing. So I have two questions to that.
Mhm.
Um, First question is, if a student needs therapeutic resources,
Mhm.
whether it is academic, whether it's social, emotional, whatever it is, there is obviously in some way going to impact them academically.
Mhm.
Does that process have to be triggered by the school itself, or can a parent come in and say, hey, my child needs some help? Is there any way or is there any resource that the school system can offer to help my child?
Absolutely. And I actually feel like that's the best way for it to be initiated is through the parent,
Hmm.
because of course they're seeing what's happening and what's being reinforced in the home. Um, and then if that's same mimicked behavior is happening is likely to happen in the school as well, they can start the process of, okay, maybe my child needs an assessment done. Maybe we need to look at seeing if there's a 504 plan or IEP process that needs to
Ooh,
happen.
okay, all right. Those things are taboo. So
Right,
we don't like
right.
labels. So, but
If
it
you
may
need it, if you need it.
it may be so. How do you? How can I say this? How do you tactfully and softly address? How does that conversation happen where you can be successful as a professional telling a parent, I think your child needs help? Because we don't see it as
Mhm,
parents in a
mhm,
lot of cases. No, my baby is fine. My baby is, that's my baby. And it's a hard. I imagine. I'm not in that situation, but I imagine that that may be a hard pill for a parent to have to swallow. But I do know that, you know, all scientific data shows that the earlier it's addressed,
mhm.
better the potential for the child to, you know, either, grow out of whatever that said situation is, or learn to successfully manage in community. So how do you guys deal with that?
Can you froze for a second, but
Okay.
I believe I know the question. I'm gonna take my school board hat off. I'm gonna put my substitute teacher.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Okay.
put my substitute mental health provider hat, on. And it is a tough conversation. What I think schools, teachers are obligated to do is to tell the story. Um, when you're in those teacher conferences, that you should sign up for and join the PTA. Um, when you are in those teacher conferences, that is your opportunity, I think, or if it's even more severe, to reach out and to give that student a fighting chance and an opportunity, to be better and to work at their highest capacity. You have to
Mhm.
tell the truth. Um, you know, it, I know this is kind of backwards. You know, at the end of my son's elementary career, he started acting out, and I was like, this is not really like him. I did go to the school and say, well, actually, she reached out to me and said he's starting to act out, and this isn't typical.
Mhm.
And that alerted me that something was going on. I wasn't quite seeing it at home, but at school there was a shift.
Mhm.
Um, we conference with the teacher, and based off her assessment of what she was seeing, he's zooming through his work, he's finishing first, and then he's bored. He's walking around the classroom, he's causing havoc. He may need to test for tag. Never Didn't even occur to me. I'm like, I don't know. She ends up testing him for tag. He gets in. He scores high in both categories. I think it's split into two different categories. And he ends up going in. A lot easier conversation to have,
Mhm.
um, as opposed to saying, hey, we're thinking there's maybe some other things going on here, and they may need some different types of support. They may learn differently, than the other students in the classroom. They may be paced a little bit differently than the other kids in the classroom. Let's start to have some conversations around what that looks like and get some assessments going. I think it's a responsibility of parent, if you're seeing some significant changes, and teacher, if you're seeing some significant changes that aren't really adding up to the historical way the child has been, behaving or interacting. I think it's the
Mhm.
obligation of both parties to make that
Right.
a point to have a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Because ultimately, the child will have their greatest opportunity for success if they get all of the available resources that they need. And if
Correct.
there's a deficiency that's not being addressed and it's not being resourced out, then the child's just going to sit there and keep struggling. And, we're blaming it on, everything else. Oh, bad behavior. The first thing we
Mhm.
want to say is they're bad, they're defiant, they're this and they're that. When ultimately the child is just screaming out for help.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So second question, when you was talking about, the direction of the school board was to bringing in more um, people with the capability of providing those types of therapeutic resources and things of that nature. Um, is there any opportunity for outside organizations to partner with the school board to offer services to the school? I mean, I'm sure there will be, some vetting process, but
Mhm,
do
mhm.
those opportunities exist, or is it strictly a, privately sourced out type of thing?
Now, I will say we can make the recommendation or make the suggestion that they should seek out um, community resources if we know that the school system doesn't have the bandwidth, or
Okay.
uh, you know, that type of thing. If it's something that internally can't be addressed,
Okay.
um, maybe there needs to be, I don't know, individual therapy. You know what I mean? Like something along those lines. In those cases, the school will kind of outsource.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
now, what I can't really say that there's any partnerships specifically
Mhm.
with outside entities, but I'm sure there are some that have historically have worked out well with Newport News Public School students specifically, that we can make a recommendation to. Hey, try the CSB, try this
Gotcha.
entity, um, and that sort of thing. Um, but yeah, speaking of partnerships, I just recently we were just talking about how that's one of our strategic planning goals, is to increase our partnerships with community resources, community vendors, businesses, um, community centers, and that sort of thing, to kind of make it a collective and more holistic process as we deal with our students. So that is something that is we're continuously working on building those relationships.
Okay. Yeah, I think that sounds great. Especially for children, that are, children that are always out in their districts, to see the schools working with familiar faces from their communities, not just the employees of the school, if that makes sense.
Right, right. To see that collaboration.
Right, right. So
Yeah.
it brings about more of a, like a village model, so to speak. You know,
Yes, absolutely.
that's
That is actually the concept. Um, when I went to what was it, a partnership informational with the youth development department, maybe about a year and a half ago, maybe. And I
okay.
sat in, and there were nonprofits in the room, there were for profits, there were tutoring programs, it was just all these different external entities that were in the room, but it was an event facilitated by Newport News Public School director, um, specifically around how can we partner, how can we build that village concept around our students, that need these different pieces in order to have a successful experience. So
Mm,
yeah, there's definitely, we've recently, and I wasn't present at this meeting, but they've started to collaborate, and this probably has been going on before I've come. Virginia Peninsula Community College. I know our chair and our vice chair and our superintendent have just started to have conversations around collaborating with Virginia Peninsula Community College. CNU is another one of our partners that we work heavily with. Um, just to show that collective collaboration measure, so that our students know, there's a life bridge, there's a continuum of
mm,
care. I know,
right.
there's a continuum of care that happens after you leave these walls, and we want you to feel comfortable going into that next phase.
Okay. So this partnership plan, is this something that you all are working on currently as part of like the strategic plan for the future?
Yes.
Okay.
The partnerships piece it's pretty heavy. The
Right.
part I think the last time I looked at the numbers, we had about 440 partnerships, established partnerships, in and about the Newport News Hampton area. And so that is something that's constantly moving, constantly growing. Um, and we want to make sure that we keep that number growing, because we want our students to feel supported here, and we want them to stay here.
Hmm.
The goal is,
Newport
after
News.
they graduate,
Okay.
after
Yeah.
they graduate, they go on to their next phase. They're getting those employment opportunities, where they have a livable wage, and they can start their own families, and they stay in the area. Um, we don't want to see folks, getting educated and then heading out into the horizon,
Right.
somewhere else. We want to keep that here where they feel like they can, live, work, and play in the city of Newport News.
Oh, that's awesome. So let's talk about parent involvement
Okay.
or lack thereof. uh,
Mhm.
how do parents find opportunities to volunteer and participate in their school district's activities or get on some of these committees?
Absolutely. I'm glad I made the plug earlier for PTA.
You did.
PTA, PTSA, um, I think are the heartbeat of volunteerism and parent involvement.
Mm.
Um, there is a small competition that happens amongst the PTAs nationwide on enrollment. There's actually a local competition that goes on too. What high school has the highest PTA enrollment? What middle school? What element? We have these small little healthy competitive measures that happen within the
So,
district.
can you tell the introverts what the PTA and the PT what is the PTA and the PTSA?
So parent teacher. Let me make sure I'm getting the acronym correct. Parent teacher. All right, y'all. I've been on the PTA forever. Found
Has
all
to be
that with
association,
the
right?
acronym. What is
Parent,
it?
so
Parent
there has to be
teacher.
an
What is the
association.
S? Parent teacher.
Student, parent, teacher, student association.
Student parent teacher. So I would say it's a group of parents, administrators, teachers, and students as well. You typically there's a dues that you pay into it. I just paid mine. It was $6. Um, and essentially you become a part of the PTA. They do have meetings. They're typically once a month, once every couple of months. Um, and you essentially talk about different ideas that you can think of for engagement. You talk about we do concessions to raise funds for the schools for different activities, school dances. Some PTAs feed into their, booster clubs. Some have separate booster clubs. So it's an additional enrichment where parents can really take advantage of and volunteer. And you hear so much about what's going on in your school, in your child's school, and you have opportunities to volunteer. You have opportunities um, to be a part of these enrichment activities. Um, you really drive. You go, what's prom going to look like? What's ring dance going to look like? What are the students saying that they want to have? So that enrichment part, PTAs really weigh heavily. Um, they also do a national level competition where PTA members can submit for different categories like drama, dance. There is a writing composition component where students who have these extra talents, you can submit your pieces, you can submit your videos, and they select who the top winners, and you can win like national medals and different things like that. So it's really cool. They also have an annual scholarship for all graduating seniors. If you've been a part of the PTA, you can have there's an application process, and you can submit, and they give out small scholarships to students who've been engaged in their local school PTAs.
Okay. So volunteerism and involvement for the parents
Yes.
begins with PTSA or
Ye-
PTA. So
Yes.
that's where you want to
Yes.
go.
That's another opportunity.
That's another opportunity.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about funding.
Okay.
Does the school board direct funding to the different districts and the different schools within the districts? And how is that determined or allocated? Is it just even across the board? Like, okay, we got $300. We got three school districts. Each district gets $100. How is that? How does that work?
So we're actually budget season.
Mm-hmm. Start over. Are you back?
Budget
Okay. All
based
right.
off of we have a
You gotta start over. You froze.
am I frozen? I'm like, am I moving?
All right. Now, okay.
Okay.
We're at budget season, and then
We're at budget season. This is
okay.
my first budget season.
Okay.
We have a financial specialist who runs all of the numbers. We talk about the needs, we talk about what types of programming, we talk about infrastructure, facilities. It goes into all these different buckets. And then
Mhm.
we present what we feel our projected needs will be in a budget. And it's presented to the city of Newport News, to city council. And
Okay.
city council has to approve the budget that's presented. So um, it's a collaborative effort there as well. We actually have combined meetings with city council during budget season where we discuss sort of, okay, the data is showing we need more emphasis on science and social studies based off of the score, SOL scores. Can we bring on more after school programming, or can we add on this type of extra enrichment, or can we have a tutoring pool? Then we start talking about, okay, what the needs are, how it aligns with the strategic plan, um, and how that ties to the dollars and cents. And so that is essentially how the budget is created and driven. And then we make a presentation to city council, and city council either approves or denies.
Okay. So, but who? So I guess as the district representative,
Hmm.
your job to fight for your district to say we need this and we need this, and because what I guess like you might be a better, you might be a better fighter than me, but
Right.
but
Right.
the parents, their question is, well, why does this school look like Harvard University and
Mm,
kid is going to East Side High? So at the site test, looking at the curb appeal and
mhm,
the quality of books and resources, I
mhm,
might feel like, well, they must be getting all of the money. That might not
mhm.
be true, but how do we know? And
Right. I'm
who
gonna speak for myself. I'm gonna fight for my district.
hey, I don't blame you, as you should.
I'm a fight but I will say, in regards to my counterparts, it really is a collective. We're looking at the division as a whole. We want every school to be able to stand up. We want every school to be able to say we're proud of our infrastructure. We're proud of the teachers we're hiring. We're part of the quality of curriculum that's being taught. Um, you should be able to point at any school and say, of course, that's in a perfect world.
Mhm,
But that is definitely the goal, is to
mhm,
try to have that same standard of excellence at in every school building that you touch.
mhm.
Um, there are talks now about having um, rotating um, facility schedules. So, okay, every 10 years, we're going to pick 10 schools and they're all going to get new HVAC systems.
Okay.
And every 5 years, this school is going to get new whiteboards and new IT and new technology. And so there's an even rotation
Right, right.
of the financials and the resources that are going around. Our job, um, that's the superintendent, her team. Facility, that's their job. Our job is to say, what do you need? What's the big number?
Okay.
This
Gotcha.
is the strategic plan. We got to get here by 2030. What you
Mhm.
need? And then
And all of that is included in the strategic plan that the board puts together.
correct.
Like all of everything, all of the belt, like the rotating, uh, facelifts and the
Yes.
rotating IT updates and resource. Okay,
All
good.
those concepts are put
That
into
that's fair. Nobody
are
can. I
put
mean,
in.
I don't think
Mhm.
anybody can ask for more than that. That's fair. You just gotta, you gotta wait your turn. You might not be first, but I mean, your kid might not see it,
Right,
but
right.
that
It's
doesn't mean
coming.
it
It's
happen.
coming.
Okay, okay. But I want my kid to ride in the new bus, so
Right, right.
yeah, it might
Right.
not. You gonna have to buy a bus. Okay.
Right,
So,
right.
how does the school board address challenges such as safety, performance gaps, and those resource allocations?
Yeah, so I would say it's based off of, priority.
Hmm.
I can tell you I probably walked into, about safety is paramount across the division.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know how many schools that they've revamped and updated
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
entryways.
yeah.
Entryways have all been revamped. You've got your metal detectors, you've got your safety dogs, doing the sniff, they
Hmm.
they sniff out metals, by the way, so they can make sure that there's
Hmm.
no weapons
Foreign objects. Yep.
and that sort of thing. So there's definitely ongoing conversations. We've got a new, I think his title is pretty long, Executive Director of Crisis Planning, Prevention, and Environmental Risk Management. Got that?
This executive director of crisis
Planning,
plan.
prevention, and
Yeah,
environmental
yeah.
risk management. So he's our safety guy. The school
Got it.
system did hire, they hired on another key personnel, just to solely be dedicated, and he has his own team as well, just solely dedicated to the safety piece. And so I can confidently say that Newport News Public Schools is paying very close attention um to that piece. Um the second part, you said the
So,
achievement the achievement gap. So we spend quite a bit of time, especially having how many educators? We have two past principals on our on our school board, who are very, very savvy. And my counterpart, Douglas Brown, he's very savvy with data as well. Constantly crunching down literacy scores, um, mathematics, looking at what the outcomes are on the elementary level going into middle school, what those gaps are. Are our preschoolers, are they coming to school prepared? What can we do to implement so that they are better equipped when they transition from elementary to middle school and transition from middle school to high school? And they have those academic markers. They're making those academic markers. Um, so definitely can say that those are discussions that we are constantly having on what we can implement and what we can add, um, to make that process more seamless.
okay.
Listening to our teachers. Hey, what are you seeing as kids are transitioning? I'm going to tell you, I went the first day of school. I went to Denby early, and seeing kids from the from the pandemic culture, who have never been to a school building,
Oh wow. Yeah.
go into school for the first time, like walk through the doors and separate from parents, and the anxiety
Oh
and
wow.
the tears and the no, it was pretty interesting to watch. And so, in talking with some of the educators, um, hey, we know now that we need to kind of prepare parents to prepare their kiddos. Hey, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to come up to the door at some point. I can't follow behind you because parents they can't go into the school building
Oh
behind
wow. They don't
the
walk them
students.
all the time.
They have to be signed in, and it's a whole security measure process. And so the first day of school, no one, they didn't allow that. They can come, later. But to keep things flowing. And so just really kind of mentally preparing kiddos for that transition. I actually went to Passage as well and saw some middle schoolers tearing up, and not the parents, the kiddos, because it's a huge undertaking, and really, trying to prepare them for what's ahead and what's going to come. Um, so those were some of the conversations I overheard educators, teachers talking about. Hey,
Oh,
next time, this is what we need to do, um, to make this a more comfortable, process, or to make it more inviting. Um, I went to some schools where they had, the military were outside welcoming kiddos outside of cars. Welcome back, ready for an excited year, getting them motivated and energized. That happened at Passage Middle School as well. So, there's different things that I think, um, folks can recognize and can take in, and can change, as the year goes on. So you talk about the achievement gap. I don't want to, go around that piece. So looking at the data, is something that is intricate, and looking at the scores of specific schools. I want to shout out um, Newsom Park and Greenwood, on their significant, scores, and their growth, from last, academic year to this academic year, the end of this 24-25. Um, their numbers look tremendous, in terms of the increase, and what they're doing inside of those walls, whatever it is, it's working. Um, whether it's, culture and climate, um, whether it's, that really reinforcing academic excellence.
mhm,
um, it really has a lot to do with the team that's in those buildings, in between
mhm.
those walls, and what they're doing to support, the day to day of what's going on in those classrooms. And so, um, I feel like we have the best educators. Of course, I do. um, in the state of Virginia, I feel like, they really care. They're passionate. Um, the conversations that I have is next to none. They want these children to succeed. They want these children to do well. Um, they want to see that C average student, pull their grade up to a B average. They want to see our students who are excelling academically really thrive, um, and go on to, top schools, and top careers, and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Okay. So I don't know how much you can share, but I'm going to ask anyway. What can you tell us about the goals and the vision of the school board's strategic plan that you guys are currently working on for the
Okay.
next few years?
Um, I will. I actually have it right here.
Uh-oh.
I won't. Okay, so it's a working document. I will say
Okay.
that. Um, so my counterparts that are watching, this could change. No, but I feel like the overall consensus, there is going to be attention to academic literacy.
Okay.
There's going to be a culture of advancement. Um, and when I say that, there's going to be an expectation of academic, uh, excellence.
Oh, so we're not just passing you no more.
No,
Okay.
we want to go from good to great. We already know we're a good division. Now we want to go into the next level.
Okay.
Um, workforce readiness. We're weighing heavily on workforce readiness, really collaborating with our business community,
Mm-hmm.
creating those partnerships,
Mm-hmm.
um, opportunities for our students to know the who's who. So when they get out in there, they can land that job. They're already familiar with the student. They're already familiar with their ability. Another partnership, New Horizons. I actually sit on that board um, with New Horizons, and met with the executive director a couple weeks ago, when we talked heavily about, industry specific and getting our kiddos prepared. So workforce readiness and partnerships. I'll stop there. So I'll stop there. Um, but those are some of the four kind of key components. Um, they decide. And kids going to college.
Hmm.
Not every kid is going into the workforce. Not
Hmm.
every kid is going into the military. Whatever you decide is going to be your best path, we want to make sure that you can look back and say Newport News Public Schools helped me get there.
That's awesome.
So,
Okay. So, last question. What is the
yes.
most important message you want the members of the community to know about the work you all do at the Newport News School Board?
Wow. I, being the newbie, the new kid on the block, I get the question all the time. Do you like it? Why school board? Oh my gosh, why'd you choose? And I can honestly say that this group of professionals that I am working with, although we don't always agree, bring a fresh perspective. And each and every one of those folks that's sitting on that board have a heart for the future of Newport News and its children, its educators, and everyone involved in creating a division of excellence. Like I can go down the line. I was thinking the other day about we've got Douglas Brown, who brings this wealth of knowledge when it comes to policy and data and research. You've got Rebecca Amen. She has a legal background. And so she's really good with like policy and language and making sure that we're hitting it on the head. You've got our chair, Dr. Best, who has been an educator, who has been a principal at a Newport News public school, and really knows the plight and the struggle of the educator inside the building.
Mhm.
You've got our co-chair Maritza Alger, who another data guru. She knows the numbers. She know how they translate to positive outcomes. She knows what to implement. She was also a principal. You've got Gary Hunter, who is our guru with our economic development and our business leaders. He can set up those internships and those things for our students to have an experience. Make sure I don't miss anybody. Oh, Lisa Searles Law. She actually works at Jefferson Lab. She's our guru scientist. And does a lot of collaborative programming at Jefferson Lab with Newport News Public School students. um I mean, everyone just has a touch of essence in their own niche that really brings something special to the division. And so what I want everyone to know, although this work is hard, and probably you're not going to get most gratification, while doing it, they show up and they keep
Mm.
showing up,
Mhm.
you know, each and every day. And then Dr. Mitchell, our superintendent, it's such a big job.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes I look at her and I'm like, wow, how are you doing this? And she does it with style and she does it with grace. And she's diligent and she's fair.
Mhm.
And she's consistent. These are the qualities of the board that I have the honor of working with. And I want folks to know that they're committed.
Mhm.
They are definitely committed. Um, so yeah, let's go from good to great.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, on behalf of the parents and the community at large, of the students of Newport News, we thank you guys for the job that you are doing for our children. We appreciate, because it is it's not a you know it's not a lot of spotlight on the school board, for the work that you do. But it is a huge job. And there, even though there's not a lot of spotlight, when something goes wrong, the hugest spotlight, especially the superintendent. It's like it's always so it's a lot of responsibility, and there's a lot of yeah, it's a lot of weight that goes with that responsibility. So, yeah, the residents of Newport News appreciates you all. I'm sure you guys don't hear it enough.
Mhm.
And I thank you for coming on tonight and just, sharing a little bit of just a snippet of that responsibility with us, and giving us some valuable insight, as to how we can be a part of the process. At this time, I'm going to ask my moderator to check the chat for any questions. I have been asking the questions as I've been seeing them. But if there aren't any additional questions, we're going to break. I have a few commercials to read, and then once we come back on, I'm going to turn the floor over to you once more, Rashina, for you to have final words. And I want you to tell people how to, follow you, your social medias, if how to connect with you, and also feel free to drop any plugs for, your foundations that you work with, your nonprofits, all of that information. Okay.
All right.
All right. So if there aren't any more questions, I thank you all for tuning in today. We ask you to I ask you to join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on our House of God Worship Center Facebook page at 7 a.m. for Jumpstart. And we ask you to join us on Sunday mornings at House of God Worship Center at 11 a.m. For our Sunday morning service. We also have our midweek impartation service is Tuesday night at 7 p.m. And that's at 2510 Build America Drive, Hampton, Virginia. House of God Worship Center family, we made it easier for you to stay connected with us. Text the word empowered to 757 500 0940. That way you can connect with Bishop's Corner and you will receive weekly inspirational messages, and encouraging quotes. Also, text the word Jumpstart, Jumpstart, to the same number, 757 500 0940, to connect with our Jumpstart team. There you can send prayer requests, get reminders, and you can share Jumpstart with your friends and family. At this time, I would like to yield the floor back to Ms. Harris, to give space for any remarks. Ms. Harris, please remember to tell our viewers how or where they can follow you. And also, if someone is seeking any of the services that you may provide, tell them how to contact you for more information.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to say thank you, Brother Justin Taylor, for having me. This was I'm extremely humbled, just being a new board member, and being asked to come and share. I do want to would be remiss if I didn't take time to thank two of my school board mentors, um, co-chair, vice chair Maritza Alger, who helped me and supported me and making sure that my information was accurate. And just giving me some additional information and feedback so I could really give accurate information to the viewers. And also chair Dr. Terry Best, for also supporting me in this process. They have been my mentors throughout this process and have really held my hand through learning all the ropes, and learning how to navigate through the different systems as I still continue to learn. Um, in order to get in contact with me and any school board member, We do have emails that we do check and respond to. And it is my email is rashina.harris at nn.k12.va.us. So that's rashina.harris at nn.k12.va.us. Of course, you can Google or go online for Newport News Public Schools school board members. All of our emails are there for the public. And you can even there's even a prompt where if you want to send a message to all school board members, you can hit the link on our pages, and it will get there. Um, I do have a personal social media page. It's Rashina Harris, and that is on Facebook. I would say that's probably where I spend most of my school boardy time. I post a lot of resources up there. If I know there are Newport News public school sponsored events, such as the Bloom Girls Empowerment, or the Rise program that I alluded to earlier, I do try to post as much as possible. All the back to school events I try to have on my page circulating as well. Any enrichment programs, summer programs. I do my best to just try to keep people educated and engaged on what resources are available and what they can access. Um, Let me see. I think those are the main ways to get in contact with me. Um, I absolutely love, and I will wrap up with this. I absolutely love Newport News. I love Newport News Public Schools. My children are a product of Newport News Public Schools and are thriving and are doing well. I engage with administrators, teachers, educators all the time. It is nothing for me to just show up at a school. I recently took a bus ride with transportation just to kind of get a firsthand knowledge of what that is like. Uh, Pretty interesting. That's for another show. That's for another show. You got to invite me back. Um, but yes, I'm very hands on. Definitely like to know what processes look like so I can make sure that I'm pointing you in the right direction, and I know sort of a taste of what our constituents and our citizens are going to be going through um, when they're trying to navigate and resolve certain things and get certain information. So anyhow, please feel free to reach out, and thank you guys for entrusting us with your most prized possession, which is our kiddos and our future. I promise you, we will do the best that we can to make this division go from good to great.
Awesome. So there you guys have it, Miss Rashina Harris. Rashina, thank you once again for being with us. I want to thank our sponsors, House of God Worship Center. I want to thank Bishop Gary Rogers and Pastor Lisa Rogers for giving us this platform to have these discussions to bring the members of the community and connect them with members of the ministry and abroad. We thank you guys for the opportunity. I want to thank our viewers and I thank our guests. And always, I invite you all to meet us right back here next month as we will engage on another interesting topic on the Hub. Thank you so much.